In Louisiana, a teacher is accused of giving birth to a student's baby. In Florida, a teen did not realize she was raped until she sees the video. And in New York, a poet who is killed in what appears to be a random stabbing. These stories and more coming at you today, Friday, October 6th on Real Life Real Crime Daily, and I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Woody Overton.
And I'm Mike Agovino. Hello, guys.
What's up? Friday.
Thirsty Friday.
Thirsty Friday.
That has a great ring to it.
That's a new one.
Freaky Friday.
This week it has a great ring to it.
Freaky Friday.
I can't find a
Freaky Thirsty Friday.
Yes.
single thing going into this weekend to feel good about.
Oh, I got it for you.
What do you got?
I got it, and I want everybody out there to listen. Like, I'm a crackhead about our numbers on the show and stuff. I'm a crackhead about the weather. Today is the last day of the year we're going to be in the 90s. And today is the first day of the year that we're not going to get back into the 90s. And tomorrow on Saturday, the high is going to be in the 70s, baby, and the low is going to be in the 50s. And all next week, the next 10 days, no 90s in the schedules, low 80s, and following.
Okay. So
Finally, fall weather.
we can celebrate the weather.
Yes.
Okay.
Means everything to 100
That's right. That's right.
Right?
It means everything to
I just made that word up, 100 man.
100. Man. Okay. I was going to say, because I don't really, I mean,
Yeah.
80, 90, I don't know. It doesn't, I mean,
It makes
40 to 90.
No, but where 108 to 90s are great, but 90s to low 80s is great.
This is
even
why
better.
you are an eternal optimist, and you're a
because
better human being than me.
the
Because you could be depressed about your football team right now.
Right,
You could. There's a lot of other shit you could be down about, but you're psyched about the weather.
I am.
And the weather's probably not going to pull me over.
Yeah, right. Because from where you come from. I was on the phone yesterday with a guy from New York City, and he was like, the weather's perfect here today. It's in the 70s and blue skies. I'm thinking, but it's still 94 here, right?
Yeah, it's hot.
And it hadn't rained in 3 months.
No, October is an interesting month up there
rain.
because it could be 75 and sunny,
Yeah.
and it could snow. I mean,
Really?
there's been some pre-Halloween. Usually, it's you get one or two in November pre-Thanksgiving, and that's when you really get depressed up there because it's not even Thanksgiving and you got snow on the ground.
My friends in Wisconsin right now, that highs in the 60s and lows in the 30s. No humidity.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, we want to tell you all how much we love and appreciate you, and please continue to like and share and leave reviews and everything else. And let's get into some crime time for Friday.
All right, we're going to take you to Louisiana, and the Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office has arrested a former teacher and accused her of sexual misconduct with a minor. Morgan Freesh, 33, turned herself in to detectives Tuesday morning after several warrants were issued for her arrest following an investigation of misconduct dating back approximately 2 years. Freesh was accused of having a baby with a then 17-year-old student, or now 17-year-old student, and resigned from her position at Loranger Middle School last week. She has been charged with 1 count of third-degree rape, 4 counts of felony carnal knowledge of a juvenile, and 1 count of oral sexual battery. The teen's attorney, George Tucker, said the family is relieved, excited, and encouraged. We're happy with these types of charges. We think there should have been more charges because there were more events. He said the family is focused on getting the teen into therapy so he can move forward. Tucker said the family is not done yet and is turning to Loranger High School and Tangipahoa school system, who they claim knew of the allegations prior to the family reporting them. Now, it's them claiming that. The next steps are now to try and see why this wasn't something that was shared with the family by those who knew far prior to now. It's become known to the family that the school was notified twice, once by the family of the superintendent, the second time by 2 Loranger employees, but was never reported. Tangipahoa Parish School Superintendent Melissa Stilley said the mother of the student involved emailed me On September 24th at 4 o'clock. That's when the school district became aware. We immediately put the teacher on leave while law enforcement investigated. The teacher did resign on Tuesday, September 26th. Stilley issued the following statement. We have just learned of the arrest of the Tangipahoa Parish teacher Morgan Freesh. Although personnel and student matters are confidential and the specifics of such matters may not be discussed, student safety and the proper conduct of school district employees are a priority. Neither the board nor the office will tolerate employee behavior which crosses the line. We are cooperating with law enforcement in its investigation of the matter at this time.
Yeah, so I was aware of the story, and Tucker is actually a pretty squared away attorney based out of Greensburg. He's a good guy. You hear about it a lot more about male teachers with female students, and a lot of times it's he said, and it may not be true or whatever, but there's no denying that you got a baby and the baby's DNA comes back to that student who was approximately 15 at the time.
That's actually a super great point, and something you hear about this happening a lot with teachers, it seems like, especially over the last 5 years or so, but you don't hear a lot that they actually had a baby.
Right.
And that's a whole nother chain of evidence.
I think being a teacher, you would know what causes that, and no glove, no love, but it's rape, pure and simple, under Louisiana law. And
he was 15 at the time they started their relationship.
And people saying, I would have said it to you, when I was 15, I'd like to have sex with one of my teachers or whatever. But under Louisiana law, you cannot consent at that age. Right.
Right.
And you get a 15-year-old who's got raging hormones, and this teacher used their position of authority to groom or basically get this. And I don't know. And it's just.
Well, this is the shocking part to me. This is not a pro-life, pro-choice thing, but 15-year-old, it's surprising that the teacher went through with the pregnancy.
Yeah, right.
There have been some of these where they profess their love for the student, and they go away, and then they get out many years later, and then they end up together with that student.
I can't remember their name.
Somewhere up north.
And then the guy looked like he was Samoan, and the student did, and then she went to jail for it, and she was still having contact, had a baby by him, still having contact, and they got out, and they actually got married.
Right.
And but it doesn't make it right.
Right.
No, it doesn't make it right at all. But I'm just trying to. The teacher said anything? Has she proclaimed her love for the? Okay, it's nothing like that.
Nothing like that.
But she decided to go term with the pregnancy and thought she could get away with it.
Maybe she was going to say somebody else knocked her up. I don't know. But that's
wild.
Crazy. All right, our favorite county.
No.
Yes, they've done it again.
Oh, you see, when I said, "Can you make my Friday better?"
Right.
You should have said, "I got a Pinellas County story."
You already knew it was Pinellas County, so here we are, and one of my favorite law enforcement agencies now. In the beginning, I was kind of worried about them, and now they just keep continuing to deliver. In Pinellas, detectives assigned to the Crimes Against Children unit have arrested a 72-year-old Petru Versan for one count of lewd and lascivious molestation and one count of lewd and lascivious conduct. Detectives began an investigation after a 14-year-old unnamed victim reported that Versan inappropriately touched her on numerous occasions while at Peter's Tailor shops in the Bel Air Bluffs. The alleged victim also claimed that Versan made inappropriate sexual comments to her about wanting to have sex with her. The victim told detectives, that these incidents did not just occur while Versan was tailoring her clothing. Versan is the owner of the business. On Thursday, September 28, 2023, Versan was interviewed by detectives and placed under arrest, and he admitted to possibly touching the victim inappropriately while tailoring clothes for her. He was transported to the Pinellas County Jail, and investigation continues. And this gentleman, we haven't talked about this in a while. I told you sex is 90%, 99% mental. This dude was 72 years old. I'm not saying he can't get an erection at 72 because they have pills for that and shit, but he's just doing the touching and putting it in a spank bank and is.
And he said, possibly? What was his thing?
Possibly. He said, Versana admitted to possibly touching the victim inappropriately. Well, that he did it.
Okay, so it was accident. So he's trying to pull like a Larry Nassar.
Right,
this actually is kind of like a Larry Nassar.
Done it, maybe. Every time I've ever interviewed or interrogated someone and asked them, did you do this or whatever? Maybe or
inadvertently,
possibly. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're guilty as hell.
Right. The second they go to the, it was unintended, it was accidental. Right. I could see her thinking that, but that wasn't really what was happening. Well, I would think Pinellas would end up with a line of women, young ladies coming forward that got tailored at that particular shop following.
That was going to be my same thing. I was going to say, they're putting this out there. That's why the investigation continues. More people are going to come forward. And this 72-year-old man is going to spend the rest of his life in prison.
Well, and they're going to take his golf cart away, which they should.
Yeah, his souped-up golf cart.
He should not have a souped-up golf cart.
It's crazy, right?
Pinellas delivers on a Friday.
Once again.
Okay, I got a crazy, crazy case going on that is lighting up social media in ways you rarely see. I mean, the kind of tallies on the video involved here is getting. I think it's over 100 million views at this point.
How many people are in the United States?
320 million.
Wow, that's 1/3 of the population.
Well, I'm sure some of those views are from outside the U.S. Although interest in us, this is a very much a
hell
U.S.
of a lot.
A U.S. story. It's really large. And so, we've covered a lot of these kind of cases. This is a sexual abuse case. It's a sexual abuse accusations involved here, and it involves a guy that was a pretty high-profile Major League Baseball player just a couple of years ago, a guy by the name of Trevor Bauer, who had parlayed a few really good years into a humongous contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers. They signed him to a 3-year, $103 million contract. And so he was a big deal. But just months after he signed that contract, accusations came that he had abused a woman. Mm-hmm. She actually came out publicly. Her name is Lindsay Hill. And the accusation was a little bit different than what you see in a lot of these cases. Her accusation was that they had consensual sex, but that he wanted it rough and she agreed for it to be rough, but then it got a hell of a lot rougher than she intended for it to be, that he punched her in the face.
It must not have had a safe word.
Well, actually, it's interesting that you mentioned that because according to his story, which is only coming out now for reasons we'll get into, he says that they did.
Oh, okay.
Right. And but we don't know. It's as it always is in these cases. It's hard, and certainly was hard on the front end to distinguish between what the two people were saying versus where the truth was,
right.
Because you didn't have facts out on the table. You had accusations, and so. But what also happens in cases like this when you've got a high-profile professional athlete.
I've worked these. I'll tell you about it afterwards. Go ahead.
When you do, you have PR implications, and both Major League Baseball and the Los Angeles Dodgers, when the accusations came out, which involved pictures and postings by Lindsay Hill of her with two black eyes and all marked up all over her face. I mean, they're pretty brutal to look at. Yeah. When that happens and you've got morality clauses in contracts and you've got PR issues, companies tend to tend to move aggressively on these things. So Major League Baseball suspended this guy for over 300 games. It got lowered to about half of that. Yeah, that's basically 2 years.
How many years is
it
that?
It was appealed, and they lowered it to basically half of that. So it went from a 3-year to a 2-year to a 1 year. But on the heels of that, the Dodgers then released him. So he was out of baseball out of baseball in the United States as a result of the accusations that came from this woman. And so he ends up going to Japan to play baseball because that's the only place he could play baseball. And everybody sort of sat waiting for this thing to get into the courts because there was an accusation of a crime, not just a civil litigation here. And so people were shocked when the court, and remember, we're talking about Los Angeles here, Los Angeles DA, Los Angeles courts. First, they did not award the woman a restraining order, which, given what you saw on the surface, how could she not get a restraining order?
Everywhere in the United States, they at least give her a TR, or a temporary restraining order.
So that was strange. And then the DA, who has been really aggressive with these cases, and I think if you think back to some of the more high-profile ones, whether it's Harvey Weinstein or Les Moonves, I mean, a lot of big wigs in Hollywood were aggressively prosecuted, and deservedly so, because they'd committed a lot of abuses against women for a lot of years. And so it was really strange to see the restraining order not given, and then the DA not press charges.
Yeah.
So people were scratching their heads, but
the DA must have had more knowledge.
Well, the only thing that happened was a video was released in February of 22 by Bauer that aggressively claimed that she was lying, that he never punched her, that she said that he punched her in the vagina too. He said, I never punched her in the vagina. I never punched her in the face. I never did any of these things that she's accusing me of. But again, that was just him posting a video and denying the charges. But things went quiet again and remained quiet until an announcement came out this week that the parties, which he sued her and then she countersued, that each of them were dropping their lawsuits, that they weren't exchanging a penny between them. So no money exchanged, the case settled, and that there was no gag order.
That is
really strange, right? So the next thing you know, the attorneys for Trevor Bauer make a statement that says Trevor Bauer and Lindsay Hill have settled all outstanding litigation. Both of their respective claims have been withdrawn with prejudice effective today. Mr. Bauer did not make and has never made any payments to Ms. Hill, including to resolve the litigation. With this matter now at rest, Mr. Bauer can focus completely on baseball. And so that was the first thing that happened. And so there you go, everybody scratching their heads again going, what the hell
That's
was...
never happened. Good for him to sticking to his guns, but it sounds like he just wanted out of the battle, but he didn't have to pay. And that not having to pay anything tells me he's innocent.
Well, you thought it was going to end there because it just seemed like that would be the way this case would end. And then Bauer posts a video that has now been viewed more than 100 million times. And in the video, Bauer claims that he specifically refused to agree to any sort of gag order that would limit his ability to talk about the case. And this video, I should point out that he does not disclose how or where he got text messages that he shared in this video that are supposedly from Lindsay Hill to a friend of hers. Okay. So he shares text messages of hers and also shares a video that I would say allegedly, except it's obviously that she took. Okay. And so what he says is the texts indicated one, Lindsay Hill described to her friend Bauer as her, quote, next victim, star pitcher for the Dodgers. Then another text to that same friend saying, quote, what should I steal? And she gets the answer from the friend, take his money. Then another one that says, from Hill again, I'm going to his house Wednesday. I already have my hooks in. You know how I roll. Then Bauer claims that that after they were together for the first time, she sends out another text saying, found out his net worth is $51 million and, quote, bitch, you better secure the bag, from her friend, right? So Bauer then wonders aloud how she planned to do that. And he answers with text again that read, quote, need daddy to choke me out. And, quote, being an absolute whore to try and get in on his $51 million. And so when you see these texts they certainly appear to be from her and this exchange between her friend. But then he stops at the 1 minute or so mark in the video and shows a video that is of Hill lying on his bed, and he's there asleep. She's laying beside him, and the video, he claims that he's got all the metadata, that the video was unlawfully concealed by her and or her attorneys during discovery, and that the video is 100% authentic, and the video is taken the morning after he allegedly beat her up, and she then posted these pictures with her and the black eyes and everything. And in the video, there's not a mark.
So she did it.
There's not a mark on her face, and so and she's smirking at the camera the entire time she's taking this video. And so, all we have at this point is Bauer's word for the authenticity of the emails in the video. If they are authentic, which his lawyers are backing this up, it certainly goes a long way toward explaining why a seemingly beaten woman would not be awarded a restraining order, why a DA might not bring charges, and why the case would get settled with zero money exchanging hands.
Let me tell you what happened. Swim, someone who isn't me, a fixer might have broke into her house and got her phone or however they did it. They got that video and those text messages, but they know they got them illegally. But they presented to their attorneys, her attorneys, and like, okay, bitch, you wouldn't play dirty. This is dirty, and even though it's not going to be allowed to be used in court because we attained them illegally, then we're going to put them out there anyway, and we're going to ruin her. And so that's what happened, and that's why she decided to go away because she didn't want that done. But then he insisted on not having a gag order because he was going to do it anyway.
Right. Well, and he didn't need to go after a penny of hers because remember, Major League Baseball and the Dodgers both acted before any of the evidence was out here, and
he lost $103 million.
Well, no, because a portion at least, or maybe more than a portion of that contract was guaranteed up front. Yeah. I don't know if it was tied to morality clauses. I don't know exactly how much of that money he lost, but he lost his reputation, and he had to go play in Japan. And
I wish the obscureness wasn't there. I wish they didn't have to use a fixer to attain this stuff however they got it, and it could be used because that bitch deserves to be in jail. I mean, that's a crime, period.
Yeah, and look, I think for hundreds and hundreds of years, men got away with utilizing their power to abuse women. in all kinds of different contexts. And in the last decade, maybe decade and a half, victims' rights and the rights of whistleblowers have grown tremendously in response to all of those years of abuse. And then sometimes the pendulum swings a little bit too far, or sometimes there are just bad actors in the middle of something that become opportunists that see.
It takes all kinds, just like the dirt bags that used it in the past, their position of power to force women to have sex, whether it be getting them jobs or whatever it may be. There's always going to be the other end of the spectrum. There's bitches like this who are going to figure out how to try to blackmail you and get money out of you. Yeah. So.
Well, and by all accounts, this guy's not a good guy, not a really well liked guy across baseball, and so that probably put him in a position where he wasn't getting any benefit of the doubt. Where maybe if somebody else, if this was Mookie Betts, another Dodgers player, who's they might have held out and waited for all the facts to come out instead of acting quickly.
I'm thankful. However, they got it. They got the video and the text messages, and that girl still deserves to go to jail.
We'll share the video if you're one of the 200 million that hasn't seen it yet.
All right. Until next time, I'm Jim Chapman.
No, that's a good. I think that was a good. I think that was really good.
Some people are doing.
We're at an hour.
Some people are doing 90 minutes on that. hey, we're not on the NBC time slot at 8 p.m. where we got to evaporate at 9 p.m. I mean, if we go a little long, we go a little long.
Hey, ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore, because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone supporting supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC. Hey, y'all. Changing my wardrobe from summer to fall, it's never easy. Luckily, Quince offers timeless and high-quality items I adore. Ensure my wardrobe stays fresh and I don't blow my budget. And there's nothing easier than going to Quince and choosing these high-quality items, like cashmere sweaters from $50, pants for every occasion, washable silk tops, and so much more. The best part? All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes, and I love that. I got the stainless steel Link Apple Watch band for $59.90. It's heavy duty, it's awesome, and it's like $100 less than I could find anywhere else. And I also got a 100% organic cotton fisherman quarter zip up sweater. The color is alabaster. Man, I can't wait to wear that this fall. And Cindy got the Mongolian cashmere boat neck sweater in heather gray. And I'm telling you, these are classic pieces at a fraction of the price. Make switching seasons a breeze with Quince's high-quality closet essentials. Go to quince.com/RLRC. for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/RLRC to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/RLRC. You'll thank me later.
It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Very horrible story regarding breast cancer and a crime. And then later on in the show, in lieu of one of my segments, I'm going to give y'all some information on breast cancer that you may or not be aware of, may or may not be aware of. I know there's a lot of ladies out there, and and I have kind of a close tie to that, so that'll be later on. But a Chattanooga woman was sentenced to 42 months in prison after she swindled friends.
I used to live there. Great town.
They have a choo-choo there.
Yeah, UTC.
She swindled friends, coworkers, and cancer support groups out of $54,000 for an attention-seeking ploy to convince them she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Hamilton County criminal judge Don Poole showed no mercy to the 39-year-old Keel Maynor during a 4-hour hearing in which prosecutors pushed for a probation sentence that would enable Maynor to work off her debt, but the judge thought otherwise. It seems to me like some confinement is necessary, and it's confinement she will get, along with 10 years of probation. Officials immediately took Maynor, a mother of 3, into custody following her sentence. Maynor appeared remorseful for her actions, and in tearful testimony, she claimed she was sorry for hurting so many people. Maynor reportedly went to extreme measures to mislead those around her, including shaving her head. She was also the recipient of more than $4,000 of proceeds following a silent auction held in her honor. According to Maynor, she spent the money on Christmas gifts for her children. Maynor had previously pled guilty to theft and forgery. Maynor summed up her deceitful plan in testimony when she said she felt unloved. She continued to say she was emotionally abused by her mother during her adolescence and sexually abused by her stepbrother. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make my wrong right, she declared. Assistant District Attorney Neil Pinkerson said the prison time was befitting of Maynor's fraudulent crimes in which she fooled friends, co-workers, and support groups like the Breast Cancer Network of Strength, a church and high school football booster club. Her self-proclaimed charade came to an end when Maynor confessed her wrongdoings in an email after she left her job in the city's planning department.
That's
so absolutely
sickness
despicable.
There. Yeah, and I've seen cases like this in the past, and it just makes you want to throw up.
It's disgusting.
I think everybody knows somebody that's died from some type of cancer or whatever, and these people to take advantage of these people, I bet she gets her ass beat.
Number one killer among women. Mm-hmm. And you're a woman, and you're going to use that for financial gain. Yeah. It's absolutely
think how much
despicable.
You have to do that. You got football booster clubs and silent auctions and all these people pouring out the love for you, and you're lying.
And shout out to the judge who said, you're going to spend time in jail.
I agree.
We're not just going to give you probation.
I agree.
Good for him.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So
they should put her at the top of Lookout Mountain where she has to see 7 states for 7 years. Like a chamber up there that rotates, and she has to look at the 7 states that you can't actually tell her 7 states from up there, or
like the bar in the Montalena,
or ride her in the choo-choo for 7 years. She'd have to ride the Chattanooga choo-choo. Or there's this Ruby Falls. She has to go to Ruby Falls for 7 years.
There you go. Well, I lived on East Brainerd Road. Never forget it. It's some of the best times of my life. All right, let's go back to Florida.
Pinellas?
And as this is in Hillsborough County, and this is a shitty story. A horrified teenage girl found out she had been raped while blackout drunk at a party in Florida when another teen shared sick footage of it on social media, according to police. The girl, who was only identified as being between 12 and 18, became intoxicated to the point of losing consciousness at the September 23rd bash with other underage drinking teens in Plant City, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office said. It was during this vulnerable state that Danielle, I hate to even say her name, that Danielle Brown, 17, no, that's the bad guy's name. Danielle Brown, 17, raped unconscious victim, the sheriff's office said. Another partygoer, Ethan Ures, 18, filmed the sex attack and spread it on social media, and he should be in jail too. The next day, the victim became aware of the sexual battery through the video footage that Ures had captured. She contacted the detectives, and both Brown and Ures confessed to their despicable actions. Brown was arrested on September 28th on charge of sexual battery by a person between the ages of 12 and 18. Ures turned himself in the next day on 2 counts of promotion of sexual performance by a child and 1 count of unlawful use of a two-way communication device. And I am disgusted at the actions of these individuals who exploited someone in such a vulnerable state, the sheriff said. I extend my deepest sympathies to this young woman and admire her bravery in coming forward to our deputies. Man, could you imagine, bro, being that young and being dead horse is what they call it, and somebody filming it and the whole world gets to see it.
That's why I chain my daughters to a post at night. Yeah, don't let them out.
Back in the day, before they had social media, they used to use chastity belts instead of chaining them to the bed. But
yeah. If I could.
Yeah. Well, I can't. I mean, girls grow to be women. I got 25 and 24-year-old.
And how old were the guys? Were how old? They had to be adults for them to share their names, right?
Right, so 17. One of them was 17, I think, or I think both of them were 17.
I mean, it seems like that demographic right there, like 15 to 21-year-olds, or maybe a little younger than 21. I mean, we've just lost them in this. When you look at the scenes of the looting that's going on all across the country, the carjacking that's going on, this kind of crime, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. But I do know that when we were covering the Carly Russell Odyssey, the woman who claimed to have been kidnapped while chasing the toddler on the side of the road in Alabama. I got a note from a listener who said, well, why haven't you guys covered the Sherri Papini story? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know the Sherri Papini story. Well, now I know the Sherri Papini story because Sherri Papini is leaving her halfway house after being incarcerated for a period of time and getting out on an early release after faking a kidnapping. So here is the story with Sherri Papini. The California woman made headlines for faking her own kidnapping back in 2016. Mike was living in California in 2016, so you would think I would know this freaking story. Papini, 41 years old, was released Friday, 8 months early in her 18-month prison sentence. According to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, she'd been under community confinement at a halfway house after being transferred there in August from another facility. She will now remain on supervised release for the next 3 years. In 2016, the then 34-year-old wife and mother of 2 claimed to have been a victim of a violent abduction while she was out on a morning run in her Redding, California neighborhood. Her husband, Keith Papini, reported her missing that evening, and an extensive search was conducted. 22 days later. So we got Carly back in 48 hours, right? So this is 3 weeks later. So this is in everyone's assumed she's dead a period of time for sure. So 22 days later, on November 24th, Papini was spotted by a passing motorist walking alongside a rural road near Sacramento, which is about 150 miles from the site where she was allegedly kidnapped. She was bound with restraints at the time. Papini told authorities that she had managed to escape her captors, who she described as 2 Hispanic women. So she claimed she'd been kidnapped by 2 Hispanic women. She said the women abducted her at gunpoint and forced her into an SUV. The women were armed, considered dangerous, and they have at least a handgun with them. Shasta County Sheriff Tom Basenko told reporters during a press conference back at the time. However, by the following year, Papini's story began to unravel as investigators turned up key evidence that contradicted her kidnapping claim. Charging documents released later in the investigation revealed that DNA evidence taken from the clothing Papini was wearing when she was found did not belong to her supposed female abductors. Instead, the DNA was matched to an offender that was in the system related to an ex-boyfriend of Papini's.
Yeah.
Investigators later pulled Papini's DNA from an iced tea bottle retrieved from her ex-boyfriend's trash. Upon being interviewed, the ex-boyfriend admitted to helping Papini, quote, run away because she alleged that her husband was abusing her. While her family believed she was missing, Papini was actually hiding out in her ex-boyfriend's Costa Mesa apartment. After 22 days off the radar, Papini told her former boyfriend she missed her children and wanted to go home. The ex-boyfriend told investigators Papini hit and burned herself to create injuries and asked him to drop her on the side of the road where she was later discovered. On April 12th of 2022, Papini was charged with 1 count of making false statements to a federal agent and 34 counts of mail fraud. She pleaded guilty and admitted that her kidnapping claim was fabricated. 2 days later, her husband filed for divorce. That's what happens. Claiming in court filing that the family was traumatized by his wife's disappearance and kidnapping hoax. She also had to pay $309,902 in restitution. I don't know if she was able to pay that when she was sentenced. And so now she is out after all of that, and we will see what happens.
Another crazy story. 22 days of fun time till it wasn't. I mean,
Crazy.
why don't you just walk out? Oh, yep. And there's a picture. I don't know.
All right. Officials have positively identified the last unknown victim of the infamous Happy Face killer, thanks to advancements in DNA and genome sequencing. On Tuesday, October 3rd, the Okaloosa County Sheriff Eric Adan announced a Jane Doe who was found deceased on the side of the highway in September of 1994 has been named as Suzanne Kelgenberg. She was likely the 6th of 8 victims brutally murdered by Keith Jefferson, who was notoriously known as the Happy Face Killer because he sent letters to the press and signed each correspondence with a smiley face. Jefferson is currently locked up at the Oregon State Penitentiary, serving 7 life sentences for murdering 7 people between 1990 and 1995. Prosecutors are charging him in connection with Kelgenberg's death. Kelgenberg was killed in August of 1994, and her body was left in a tree line off Interstate 10 near the Florida Panhandle. Inmates working on the side of the highway discovered her remains on September 14th of 1994. She was wearing a long button-up dress with flowers and lots of jewelry, including a cord bracelet with beads, a cord necklace with pendants, a charm bracelet without a charm, and more. At the time, the investigation determined that Jane Doe was a white female between 35 and 55, and Kelgenberg was 34 when she was killed. Law enforcement caught Jefferson in 1995. His crimes spanned the United States with victims in California, Nebraska, Wyoming, Oregon, Washington, and Florida. Right. He worked as a long-haul truck driver at the time of the murders. That explains all of that. He spoke with county officials in 1996 and admitted to killing a Jane Doe in the area and leaving her body near Holt. He reportedly told detectives he believed the woman's name was Susan or Suzette. So after 29 years, finally another positive of DNA sequencing is they were able to identify this victim.
It's crazy. And thank God for the advances in DNA and the original real life, real crime series, death penalty. When they do the call to action, I know this guy has more than 2 bodies on him that he confessed to over however many years, 11 years or whatever. So we're going to go to every area that he lived in and ask him to test any DBs. But the problem is a lot of this evidence gets lost. And but hopefully they can use the same DNA technology and find out more people, get more closures for families.
100%.
Happy faced. Had you heard?
Yeah, I'd heard of them. All right, now let's go to Ohio. And, all of us got here because two people had sex. In Ohio, there was a whole bunch more people that could have been born, but the state stopped it. The state of Ohio has made more than 100 arrests of Johns seeking to buy sex who have been charged with prostitution, as Sting dubbed Operation Buyer's Remorse. An EMT, nurses, educators, retirees, former law enforcement officers, self-employed individuals, and delivery drivers are among those in custody. The youngest arrested is age 17 and the oldest is age 84. The operation was conducted by the Attorney General's Yost, Ohio Organized Crime Investigation Commission, taking place from September 25th to the 30th across every corner of the state. In Operations by Remorse was comprised of coordinated stings conducted by that division's Human Trafficking and Major Crimes Task Forces and nearly 100 law enforcement officers that also conducted anti-human trafficking operations. This is just one of the state over just a 5-day period, and nearly 150 arrests were made. Cops say the 149 Johns who were seeking to buy sex have been arrested and charged with engaging in prostitution, and 2 individuals were arrested for seeking to have sex with minors, and 6 were for promoting prostitution or basically being pimps, y'all. Others were arrested for illegally possessing narcotics and/or firearms, or because they had other outstanding warrants against them. That's any time you arrest someone, especially on, pimps, and they're going to be armed and all that, or keeping a dope for their women. The charges on them vary in severity from first-degree misdemeanor to a third-degree felony. And Yost said, "Our message is simple. Don't buy sex in Ohio." Law enforcement across Ohio teamed up in a concerted effort to stem the demand that fuels human trafficking. And the success of this operation is measured not only by the number of arrests, but also by the resources offered to survivors of human trafficking and the intelligence gathered that will propel long-term investigations forward. And so as part of the investigation, officials also interviewed 104 survivors of human trafficking, and the survivors provided services from healthcare and social service organizations as well. They seized a whole bunch of electronic devices, y'all, and approximately $75,000 cash from different locations. And the Noble County Sheriff Jason Mackey said he was very happy with the success of Operations by Remorse. And he said, "The big thing is we know people in our area do not support this. The people doing human trafficking think they can come to a rural area and get away with it easier. But we are prepared, we are well trained, and we won't tolerate it." So,
wow.
That's
150 people in 5 days.
Right.
And did they rescued like 104 victims during that?
I would imagine it's a lot of Backpage and escort sites and stuff like that. And they probably did the stings both ways. Undercover officers acting like prostitutes to get the Johns, placing ads on Backpage or whatever. But that's a unique approach. Some areas would do this. I've seen, and one of them in Louisiana, where they would arrest the Johns and they would post their pictures on the local cable channel back in the day, the one that ran 24 hours.
Should have been a good deterrent.
Right. Well, you would think it is, but it doesn't, because people get horny. And I mean, sex trafficking is bad. And rrescue.org, y'all know Mike's about to get smashed in the head with a whole bunch of eggs next week. But we'll figure that out.
Well, I'd happily take 104 more if we could.
Right. So
if we could save 104. I mean, just project that out. Why wouldn't every state do that? I mean, 150 people, that would be like 7,500 people across the country.
That's the thing. I mean, I'm sure a lot of different jurisdictions do it as they get the complaints of the street walkers or whatever, the massage parlors. But this was a statewide effort, coordinate between all the agencies and the Attorney General's office. So good for them.
Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods.
The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids, to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
Yeah, good for you, Ohio. Let's go to Brooklyn, New York. This is another video that has been seen millions and millions of times, and a really, really sad story, and parts of it I don't understand. But the disturbing new video shows the moment a talented poet, and this guy was also a community organizer who was really well respected, was stabbed to death in front of his girlfriend, who desperately tried to get help in the aftermath of the attack. This all happened in Brooklyn, and happened, I didn't know, I had to research it, the story. It happened in a neighborhood, Bedford-Stuyvesant, that for my entire time in New York was an area you didn't go near. But I've been gone so long, it's been gentrified and is an up-and-coming area, again, which is an amazing transformation. But Ryan Carson, 32, just 32 years old, can be seen sitting on a bus bench in Bedford-Stuy and speaking with his girlfriend as the two made their way home from a wedding on Long Island. Now, this happened at 4 a.m. I don't know why they're on a bench at 4 a.m. on a Monday morning coming back from a wedding, but that's where they were, and that's the timestamp. Carson and the woman, she was dressed in a wedding dress and he was still in a suit, get up and begin to walk down the block. And in the same direction that they are walking, a guy had just gone past them, walking in that same direction, wearing a dark sweatshirt. And you can see in the video that just the way the guy is walking, he had his hood up over his head and his hands in his pockets, and you actually see him stop and start kicking scooters that are parked on the side of the sidewalk. And it's 4 a.m. You see that in front of you. I just don't know why that didn't trigger them to just go in a different direction or just wait out until he got further down the block, or I don't know. But you can see that guy clearly kicking the scooters, and there's some other things there that he kicks. And it looks like on the video that, as I said, they might have been able to turn around and just walk in the other direction, but for whatever reason they keep going. Suddenly, this unhinged guy turns toward Carson and says, "What the F are you looking at?" Carson replies, "I wasn't looking at anything." And then the guy advances toward him and his girlfriend, and Carson sidesteps so that he's between the guy and his girlfriend. The guy then says, "I'll kill you." Carson says back, "Chill, chill," while holding his hands up. But the guy just keeps coming at Carson. He's pulling a knife as the victim's girlfriend is running up behind, and she can be heard yelling, "Please, please, please," as he's backing up. So Carson's backing up with his hands extended, trying to talk to the guy and keep the guy at a distance. He stumbles over the bench that he and his girlfriend had been sitting on, and the guy takes that moment, that opportunity, grabs his jacket, knocks him to the ground, and starts savagely stabbing him multiple times in the chest. And he then walks away as Carson is lying curled up on the ground before returning and approaching the terrified woman, and he raises her hand as if he's going to go after her, and then he stops. But he does spit on her while still clutching the knife before then kicking Carson, who's there dying on the ground. An unknown woman then appears near the corner, and she's yelling, "Don't hurt him," but she's too late. Investigators believe that the woman and the suspect knew each other prior to the slaying. Police sources said that on Tuesday, and they are trying to both ID that woman as well as, obviously, this guy. "I'm so sorry," the woman exclaimed as she approached Carson laying on the sidewalk and his girlfriend. "I'm calling 911, she added, and the video cuts off as the girl is kneeling over her boyfriend's body. Hospital. He was rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead upon arrival. Apparently, one of those knife wounds pierced his heart, and he died.
Hopefully, they get the spit off of her for DNA.
This guy's got to have a record.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
I told y'all earlier in the broadcast that I wanted to talk a little bit about breast cancer, and I want to thank my wife who gave me some of this information, statistic wise. But I know we got a lot of ladies out there that listen, and very important. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Of course, October is a busy time in that field. I see my wife about half as much during October that I do any other month of the year. But here's some stats for you that are really, really current. 1 in 8 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer in a lifetime. That one blew my mind.
That's a lot. Yeah,
that's just insane how many. In 2023, an estimated 297,790 women, and get this, men out there who think that you can't get breast cancer, 2,800 men will be diagnosed with invasive breast cancer. Yeah. Chances are at least one person who has personally been affected by it in one way or another.
And they're numerous. Yeah.
Now, here's the thing with breast cancer. When it's caught early in its localized stages, the 5-year survival rate is 99%.
Wow.
99%. There are currently over 3.8 million breast cancer survivors in the United States. And in 2023, an estimated 297,790 cases of invasive breast cancer will be diagnosed. So it's it's an issue. And one thing they've really been doing in the last 20 years and doing a good job of is making mammograms and things like that more accessible.
That's what, the mobile.
That's right. The mobile units that go and
the listeners probably don't know. Your wife, that's what she does.
That's what she does. Right. And they go to facilities all over, in my case, South Louisiana. Well, really all over Louisiana, even North Louisiana. And they go to facilities, for example, like prisons, the retirement communities.
Yeah, even prisons.
Yeah, prisons. And they'll park out front and really do some good work there. Breast cancer is the most common cause of cancer in American women. It's estimated in 2023, approximately 30% of all new female cancer diagnoses will be breast cancer. The only superseding cancer as far as diagnosis is skin cancers, in general. On average, every 2 minutes, someone is diagnosed with breast cancer. Approximately 15% of women diagnosed have a family history of breast cancer. That's very important to mention. Typically, it's a first-degree relative, which is a mother, sister, or daughter with breast cancer, and they're nearly twice as likely to develop breast cancer themselves. That does not mean that if you don't have a family history, you can't get it. Right. It's just very important if you have a family history that you start early on your mammograms and things like that. My wife recommends you start early, 35 to 40. She says you'll hear some people say 40 to 50. She said 35 to 40 is really the best time to start. Do an annual mammogram, and the reason for that is if you catch it early, as we stated, it's 99% survival rate. The problem with breast cancer is once it spreads, it kind of gets out of control. If you can catch it in that localized state, you got a real good shot. Yeah. And so it's, people put those things off, but October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month is a great time to just lock in your head that that's when I'm going to schedule my mammogram every year. And they make it easy now. Yeah, all these mobile units all over the country, they almost come to you. So if you're interested in supporting something to do with breast cancer, the Susan B. Komen Foundation is top notch. They're the leading nonprofit for breast cancer research, and you can go to Komen, KOMEN.org and learn more about it. Ladies, get your mammograms.
And we know that we have, probably 80% of our listener audience are females. So y'all take care of yourselves.
That's right.
Let me put perspective for you guys out there, or ladies too. Rabbit. Everybody in South Louisiana or Rabbit LSU fan. Rabbit.
You're right,
Rabbit LSU fans, right? So LSU, Alabama, and Tiger Stadium is always going to be sold out. 100,000 plus people. If you took LSU Stadium, filled it up on an LSU Alabama football game night 3 times with just females, that's how many are getting diagnosed.
Yeah,
every year.
And
that's right.
And
it's crazy.
Look, I have a personal experience right now with my niece who.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Who thankfully on her own felt something. She was still in her 20s. She was 28.
Really?
Yeah, it can happen early.
Felt something and went right away, and they caught it early. I mean, she's been through a year and a half plus of treatments, and but she's going to get married in December, and
awesome.
She is a great, I'm about to say kid, she's a great lady, and I'm just amazed at what she's accomplished in her life already, but to handle everything she's handled in the last year and a half, I mean, it's unbelievable what these women go through.
Y'all take care of yourselves and get it going.
You can now take off that belt and move freely around the cabin.
We're going to have Woody Overton doing
Woody Overton's reading Mile High Day, ladies
How about
and
that?
gentlemen.
Switch it up
Is
a
it
little
a
bit.
kinky Mile High?
No.
crossing both?
This is hey, I'd have gone to jail had I been this guy. So, we always say, see something, say something, but a responsibility comes along with that to actually ask yourself whether that something you're seeing is actually something. Singer David Ryan Harris has received a groveling apology from American Airlines after staffers accused him of trafficking his own children. Harris, 55, was traveling from Atlanta to Los Angeles on September 15th with his sons, Truman and Hendrix. But their trip endured some unexpected turbulence when the airline staff, along with 4 police officers, met Harris and his kids at the top of the jetway when they disembarked from the plane. Apparently, a flight attendant had called ahead with some sort of concern that perhaps my mixed children weren't my children, Harris said in the video, because they were unresponsive during the interaction with her. And look, my youngest son isn't talking to anybody, right? So I get it. So because of that, we were met, and embarrassingly so, by this American Airlines employee and police officers, and they questioned my kids. Harris shared the airline statement with his followers on Instagram Tuesday, which said, "To summarize our investigation, we and our flight attendant realized that our policies regarding suspected human trafficking were not followed, and through coaching and counseling, our flight attendant realizes that their interaction and observations did not meet the criteria that human trafficking was taking place. Our flight attendant in question wanted to make sure that you were aware that they sincerely offer a heartfelt apology to you and your family for their actions and the results that their actions generated. Alongside screenshots of the airline's apology, Harris said the ordeal has been a teachable moment for all involved. All I was looking for was an apology and or an explanation of policy. And from the beginning, I didn't and still don't think that a slow or tentative response from a 7-year-old on an early morning flight should be enough criteria to have the authorities called. I never begrudged the red flag. I've always begrudged the apparent lack of diligence on the part of the flight attendant. I still very much think that non-response from the airline smacks of corporate arrogance at worst and a gross undervaluing of the customers at best. That I had to report to shaming the airlines to get a response at all speaks to the general lack of a meaningful customer service apparatus. Harris said he applauds American Airlines for finally apologizing, and the musician revealed that he has started a petition to implement mandatory ID checks for children traveling with their parents.
Wow.
Pretty good story.
Well, what a measured response by some. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd have gone freaking nuts.
Yeah, I get it. He's not suing and everything else. But when I travel with my son, WL, I make sure he has his passport.
Seems like I would need, free airline tickets for the rest of my life. That's crazy, man.
They ought to be doing something retroactively or something.
You can now take off that belt and move freely around the cabin.
I'm going to go and talk about something really, really dumb today, but not criminals. I'm going to talk about dumb weapons.
All right.
I don't know about you guys, but one of my favorite things about James Bond, and I love James Bond movies, is when Q comes and introduces the new gadgets available to Bond in that movie.
Most of the ones that they did from back in the day actually became
real things.
Yeah.
And he had some incredible toys to play with through a lot of those movies.
Do you know where James Bond got his name from? Ian Fleming, who wrote it all, he named it after his best friend. Do you know what James Bond, the real James Bond's occupation was? He was a bird watcher, ornithologist, what they call it, or something like that. A professional bird watcher, whatever it's called.
Avian.
Yeah, whatever it's called. The real James Bond. Ian Fleming named it after his best buddy.
Okay, well,
he's a bird watcher.
The weapon I'm going to talk about right now would not have qualified as something that Bond would have used in a movie. During the Cold War, the CIA came up with a plan to stick microphones in cats' ears and radio transmitters in their skulls in order to spy on Russians.
Okay.
Brilliant, right? I mean, just if that works, get the cat near the Russians and they're not going to suspect anything from the cat, and you get to hear the entire conversation, right? Well, for its first official test, CIA staffers drove Acoustic Kitty, that was the name of this weapon, Acoustic Kitty, to a park, and they tasked Acoustic Kitty with capturing the conversation of two men who were sitting on a bench. This all came from a redacted government memo. Instead, the cat wandered out into the street where it was promptly squashed by a taxi.
Waste of money.
Probably not the greatest weapon
right?
we've ever introduced.
When did that happen?
It happened. It said during the Cold War, so they didn't give a specific date to it. But the Acoustic Kitty did not work. We're sorry that whoever that kitty was got squashed in the end, but you need not fear that kitties are recording your conversations, folks.
There you go. Don't fear the cats.
There you go.
All right. Any final thoughts, Woody Overton?
Nope.
What he's
RRSQ.org.
Googling Acoustic Kitty.
Yeah,
over there, I see.
He's gonna get one.
RRSQ.org. See something, say something, help stop human trafficking. We love all y'all.
All right. Mike, anything?
Say a prayer for me, Aglets. I think it's 1 week from, well, it's 6 days now.
Yeah,
Next Thursday.
unless-
you guys better have a plan.
Unless something has to change.
Okay,
But,
I'm not impressed with the organization by the Agers
We're working
as
on it.
the Ago is prepared to get his forehead destroyed.
All right. Well, until next time, I'm Jim Chapman.
Woody Overton.
And I'm Mike Agovino.
Your host of Real Life, Real Crime Daily. Peace.
Aglets.
Get those mammograms.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.